So let me start off with the demonstration of the VBA project which I have developed for the course module of computer-based tools. For this, let me start off by clicking this project. So as soon as this Excel file is opened, first you can see a dialog box where a user form is visible. In this, you have to enter the username and the password. And this data would be taken from the database, the same database that I have developed for the system designs and development project. So under this, as you can see, the username would be ABC and 123, the correct combination. So let me start off by introducing an incorrect combination. So first you try to log in, then the system would inform the user that username and password is invalid. The combination of this username and password is incorrect. So again, you have to retry it by using this clear button. You can clear the username and password entered. So let me enter the correct username and password. So after clicking on this login button, then it will be directed to the report generation interface. So in here, the user can ask for a variety of reports. So there are 6 types of report which this reporting generation interface would support. So one would be the purchase order report, then the sales report, the product stock report, material stock report, client details report, and supplier details report. So all these reports could be selected by the user via this drop down. So first and here, if you select the purchase order report, then the system would give the user the chance to sort by the name of these suppliers, name of the suppliers. So all the available suppliers will be populated to this combo box. As you can see here, these drop down would be generated dynamically with the current supplier list. So let me demonstrate the available suppliers. So as you can see, it's correctly the information is taken from the database and populated into this drop down. So first, if you want to select a certain supplier and get only the records of pertaining to that supplier, that functionality is facilitated through this drop down. So first you can select the supplier that you want to choose and get that record sorted. So if you want to get that record sorted, if you want only to get the records relevant to the chemifix industries, then you have to tick this checkbox. Then this is where you can select whether to have a summarized version of the report or a detailed version of the report. So first, let me demonstrate the detailed version of the report. So click on this and generate the report. As you can see, it is informed for the user that the report is generated successfully, and it's instructed for the user to refer to this workbook which is open right now, and user can simultaneously check on this sheet and check on the report generated. Here you can see the purchase order details report, which displays the supplier name and the generated date as well. So all these entries will be respective to the chemifix industries. It will be sorted, and here the user can take user can see the purchase order ID, the order creation date, the supply ID, the material ID, the quantity which is respective to that material ID, and the material name. So here for this purchase order ID, there have been multiple materials for this certain purchase order, and the supplier is of course the chemifix industry. So all of these are pertaining to this supply ID, which is the chemifix ID relevant to this chemifix industries. So for this for the purchase order 4, there are 3 such items, and the purchase order 9 and purchase order 10 and 11, 13, so on. So the order creation date is the date which this order was created, and the material ID is the unique ID for the material, and the quantity which they have which we have purchased from the supplier. So all of these are raw materials, so these data is taken from this database. So there's a query which refers to this raw material to get the material name. Then also it refers to these item this refers to this purchase order. So it refers to this purchase order, and through the query, all the purchase orders which have been approved would be displayed. And also through this purchase order item, the data would be taken from a single purchase order may have multiple items. So the items pertaining to a certain purchase order can be selected from this is taken from this purchase order underscore item table. All this data is taken together and printed into this static report. So if you don't want to sort, you can just unclick this, then the records won't be sorted. For example, you can generate, let me click on the generate report again, then you can see the new report. So always after we click on this generate report, a new sheet would be opened. Here also you can see all these it is not sorted to a certain supplier. Instead, all the purchase orders which has been made up to now is being visualized. Here you can see the supply ID. There's a variety of the supply ID. There's various supply IDs, so you can see it's not sorted. So up to now, all these purchase orders which has been approved and placed by the firm can be displayed through this report. So if you want to get the summarized version of this report, let me click on this summarized version, then click on generate report again. So here also another sheet would be created. Here what happens would be the report would be summarized. It means for certain purchase order ID, instead of breaking that purchase order ID to its respective materials, it would give the total quantity. So here I have used an order by function where this purchase order is ordered here you can see the summary of all these items with respect to the purchase order. So this breakdown of this purchase order as shown by the previous report is not visible. So here the user can take a overview of this purchase order and see how many items are there for this each and every purchase order. So it's more or less a summarized version of this exact same report. So instead of having this purchase order report broken down to its respective materials, here you can see the total quantity which is respect to the purchase order. So here as you can see, it is correctly displayed and summarized. If you want to sort this again and have another supplier and get the summarized version, that functionality is also working correctly, as you can see. So all these materials which are respected to this industry, so to this supplier, is displayed here. Let me demonstrate by using another supplier. Here you can see here here this purchase order is clear. It is visible that this purchase order is not repeated, hence this is summarized. The net quantity is displayed here, and all these and also you can see it's sorted. So all of these are relevant to the chemifix industries. All the other suppliers would be ignored here. Only the entries which are relevant to the chemifix industries would be displayed. So here, that is the basic functionality of the report generation of the purchase order report. Let me move into the sales report. It also has a similar functionality. So here the sales report is relevant to the item orders which we received. So as this POL coatings is a small scale paint manufacturing industry, so the item orders, the paint orders that we get is actually which is visualized by the sales report. So first you click on the sales report, and here as similar to the previous, you can see the client list. So this drop down is dynamically populated with the existing available client list. So as you can see, there are several clients that we have with us right now here. So referring it to the database, you can see if you go to these clients it is the same. So all these would be populated dynamically so that the user can select and sort the records with which are relevant to that respective client. So first let me get sorted by the first client. So it's not and get the detailed report. So you can see, click on the generate report button. Then here you can see the sales or the name of the report, that is sales order details report. So and here the client name is the Nilkamal constructions, and the generated date is the report time of the report generation. Here the user can see the item order ID, which it's a unique key which is used to identify the item order that we have received. Then the order received date and the latest delivery time. This is the time which we have to satisfy. We have to satisfy this item order before this latest delivery time. Then the client ID, that is as it is sorted, all this client ID would be the same. So as it is sorted to this specific client, and the item IDs. So a certain item order could have multiple items. For example, this purchase order ID, there are multiple items as pure like thinner, pure like blue, so it is also clearly displayed. So similarly for all the existing item orders which has been approved, is been displayed correctly here, so with the relevant quantities. So these data is directly taken from this database. Here you have to refer to this item table as well as this item order table. So a certain item order may have multiple items in it, so all these items in it are being referred through this item order item table. So all these tables are being joined and displayed, and this data is being populated to a printable format using this VBA. So next, let me uncheck this enable sorting, so that you can get the overall report which is not being sorted to any client. So again, let me click on the generate report button. Here you can see the sales order details report, which is not sorted to a certain supplier. So as you can see, it's correctly displayed here. All the clients are here. It is not being sorted to a specific client. So this report represents all these orders which we have received up to now from all the clients, and which has been approved. The rejected orders are not being displayed here. So here similarly, all those details are being displayed here. So if you want to get a more summarized version of this, then again you have to click on the generate, tick the summarized radio box, then click on the generate report. So in here you can see the summarized version, the version of the sales orders report. Here you can see the user can identify that this is the summarized report. It's indicated here. Then here similarly to the purchase order report, in the sales report also, when you take a certain item order, it would be sorted out through this quantity. So all the quantities which are relevant to this specific item order would be added up, and summarized version of this previous report would be generated. So for this item order, this specific client has ordered a quantity of 15 items from us. So it gives more or less an overview, other than having a complete breakdown to each and every items pertaining to that specific item order ID. So also here you can see all these item orders. Similarly, it is being sorted with respect to that item order and ID. So their respective products or the items are not being broken down. Instead, a total summation of the items which are relevant to that certain item order ID is displayed here. So as you can see, it's correctly being summarized and summarized and displayed in this report. So let me move on to the next report, which is the product stock report. Here of course we cannot sort by a certain supplier or client. This displays the stock which is available right now. So here it is the product stock, which is not the raw materials, but this is the finished goods that we have right now in our stock. So in here, let me generate this report. So as you can see, as to improve this usability function and avoid this user from entering unnecessary irrelevant inputs, all these unnecessary controls are being correctly frozen, so that user cannot even mistakenly choose these controls and give incorrect output, and cannot may not get the desired output with the user expect to get. So here, this through this freezing, you can easily identify and make the user less confused. So if you select the purchase product stock, you can only get the product stock, you cannot sort by the supplier or get the summarized version. So let me demonstrate this. So here you can see the product stock report, which displays the the stock that we have right now. Here the item names have been displayed, and the respective item ID, the item name, the quantity which is available right now, and the unit price. This is also taken from the database. Here you have the items. So basically it's taken from this specific table in the database and be printed to this through this reporting interface to the Excel sheet. So let me select another report. It's a material stock report. Similarly, so this would give the user the current raw material stock which the firm is having right now. So if you want to get the current material stock, you can just select this from the drop down, and here also similarly all the other irrelevant controls have been disabled. Then you can click on the generate report, and you can see here that it is successfully displayed raw material stock reports, where all the necessary details such as the material ID, material name, and available quantity is correctly displayed. So for the certain material ID, there's this material name displayed and the available quantity. So it is also taken from the database. I can demonstrate the raw material database. So here all this data has been retrieved from this specific database table in the database. So here all these data has been correctly displayed and printed into this Excel sheet. So next, moving into the next report, it would be the client details report, which is also similar to, which is actually the client the available the current details of the clients which this organization is used to is dealing with. So here you can select the client details report in order to get the current information about the clients. For this, you have to select the client details report, then move into click on the generate report. Then here also you can see the details of the clients which the company has right now. Here you can see the client ID, which is unique ID, then the client name, the contact number of the client, and the email address of the client. So this is also retrieved from this clients table. As you can see, all these details have been have been correctly displayed. So let me move into the next report, which is the supplier details report. So first you have to select the supply details from this drop down. Similarly, as you can see, when it moves from the one selection to other, still it's been frozen because these controls are not relevant to this supply details report. This will also inform the user the current suppliers of these current suppliers of this firm. So here you can click on generate report, and you can see the supply details report, which gives a printout of the supplier ID, displays the supplier ID, supplier name, contact number, and the email address. So here this is the unique ID to identify the supplier, then the supplier name, contact number, and the email address for each and every supplier is displayed correctly, which is taken from this suppliers table. So when you move into the suppliers table, there's this all these, you can see all these entries have been correctly displayed retrieved from the database using VBA code and printed to this Excel sheet properly. So let me talk a little bit about the validation process here. So for example, we try to say you can see you can click on this clear button and clear all these entries. So if in case the user mistakenly tries to click on the generate report button, first it prompts to the user that please you have to select a report type. Then you have to select a report type. Then if the user tries to generate the report, then you have to select prompts the user telling that please to select the summarize or not summarize selection, because it is a mandatory selection which is required to give the correct input. So you can select whether to choose this or this yes or no button. So here you can see all these possibilities of happening errors are being restricted through the interface, where this message box prompts the user to enter the correct details to get the desired output. So here, as soon as we click on this enable sorting, it is being selected. As soon as if you deselect this enable sorting checkbox, here this certain drop down button would be frozen, so the user cannot select this, and it makes the user give the idea that it is not up to be sorted. So after deselecting this enable sorting, user cannot select this, so this drop down would be frozen so that user cannot select. So there's that validation part as well, which helps the user to get the desired output. So this is the overall demonstration of the system. So as you can select the respective report type, and here it is getting updated. If it's a purchase order, you can sort it by the respective suppliers. If it is the sales, it can or report, you can sort it by the respective clients. So it is populated accordingly, and the reports would be generated successfully. As I demonstrated, all these types of report could be generated via this interface. So all these implementations have been done using Excel VBA, and so this the database has been hosted in the local host, and through the SAM server. So here the database query language which I have selected is MySQL. So this system would communicate to this database using the MySQL and ODBC connector. So all these have been implemented using this VBA code itself. So that's about it. So if you want to so that's about it. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening to this system demonstration. Which would act as a reporting module for the system design and development project, and this reporting module is developed using Excel VBA alone, without using any other languages. So thank you very much for listening.